So in the three most important superglobals, we have seen post superglobal and we discussed it very deep in our previous chapter and end up by making a complete PHP application. Now in this chapter we are going to focus on our get superglobal variable. As I mentioned before, get is all about URLs, links, user searching on internet and how the links and URL format work on a web. So in the folder of PHP course, I'm going to create one new folder of our get chapter and in which we need our simple.php file. So let's paste it here and let's open it in our Komodo. And I'm going to save this file as url.php. Let's change its name to URL. Saving this one out. Now before doing anything, I'm going to create some couple of variable here and we will form a link using those variable. So first variable I'm going to call it web and let's give it some value like Google Pakistan. Second variable to be search and giving it value like Jazib Akram online courses and web site. And in the third variable I'm going to add one more variable of result and giving it some value like https :// like the common URL and I'm going to concatenate it with our variable of web and then I'm going to concatenate it with another string of search is equal to. Before that I have added this question mark here and let's concatenate it with our third variable of search. Let's echo our result, our third variable that we made. Okay, saving this one out. So in the folder of PHP course I have created this new folder of get in which I have this file of url.php. Now we have this https, then Google Pakistan search is equal to Jazib Akram online courses and website. And if I put this query Jazib Akram online courses and website originally on Google, then you don't have to see these results because we have to focus on this URL tab here. You can see first of all we have this Google website name google.com.pk, then we have search query and this query has given a name of search and this question mark right here is telling us that this is a search query. And after that we have our first parameter of Jazib, then we have plus symbol and plus symbol belong to this space between Jazib and Akram, and then we have plus symbol, same space, then online, and after online we have plus again, and this plus also represent our space. Then we have plus percentage 26 and this percentage 26 is this and sign. So this is URL encoding. We are going to look into URL coding in a minute and then we have this website and the rest of the URL query. So you need to focus on this plus sign, this percentage and 26 and the things like that. So this is URL encoding And in our browser, when we made our URL, it's completely false. Why? Because it's not searchable. It's showing the spaces as a blank space here in our browser. So we need to encode our URL according to real world, according to this plus percentage 26 and things like that sign. So for encoding our URL, we have PHP function of URL encode that is going to transform our any text in searchable URL encoding. So I have this variable of web here for converting it in according to URL encoding. I have to put one function here on this web, and that function name is URL encode, and I have applied it on this web variable, this Google Pakistan. Saving this one out, back to browser, refreshing the page. Now you can see we have Google plus Pakistan. It's according to our original real world searchable query. So if I apply the same function on our next variable of search, I have to add URL encode here, put it in parentheses, saving this one out, refreshing the page, and now we have plus online courses plus percentage 26, and this percentage 26 is for our and symbol that is right here. So this is URL encoding. Now there is one more type of encoding, and that is raw URL encoding. Actually, URL encoding convert our spaces into plus, and raw URL encoding convert our spaces into percentage 20. It's the same, but we are going to see in a minute that when to use which URL encoding. But first of all, let's change this URL encoding to raw URL encoding, and I have to add raw here for checking it for raw URL encoding, saving this one out. Now refreshing the page, but before doing that, focus on these plus sign here. Now we have, instead of plus, we have here percentage 20. In all these spaces, instead of plus, we are having percentage 20. So this is raw URL encoding, and it's also very common in our URL, but we have to differentiate when to use which URL encoding. So my advice would be for you that anything before the part of your search query, you should use raw URL encoding, and anything after the part of search query, you should use URL encoding. Because when it is like Jazib plus Akram plus online plus courses, then it would make much more sense in our browser that we are finding some specific keyword on our internet. So I need result for Jazib, and if Jazib has Akram, also okay. If it has online, also okay. So although both of URL encoding are same, but using the URL encoding on your search string would be much more understandable. So now I'm going to check it for both of raw URL encoding. Refreshing the page. Now we have percentage 20 here and percentage 20 here. So now I'm going to make it more understandable by removing raw from our search query, saving this one out. Now the first part will be in the form of percentage 20 for spaces, and the second part will have plus sign instead of spaces. Saving this one out. Now refreshing the page. Now first one has raw URL encoding, and the second part has URL encoding. So keep this thing in mind that raw URL encoding is best for first part of your URL, and the URL encoding is best for your search query.